Klaus, an extremely skilled and talented spy, is interrupted by Guido, his master. He tells him that there is an almost impossible mission to perform, and that if he is able to do it successfully, he will be known as the best spy in the world. We are now set in Din, where Lily, a lousy student who was given a provisional graduation, is transferred to a new barracks, where she expects to meet professional and talented spies. Upon opening the door and euphorically introducing herself, she finds that the supposed professionals who would be working with her are nothing more than a group of waifs just like her. One of the waifs approaches Lily and asks her about her grades, to which Lily replies that she was a poorly performing student, so the group realizes that they are all inexperienced and failures. At that moment, Klaus appears and introduces himself, saying that from now on they are part of Lamplight, a team of spies that will have to carry out an impossible mission in a month's time. He then leaves, telling them to spend the rest of the day getting to know each other. While the waifs despair at having to form a professional team knowing that they all suck, Klaus leaves them a letter outlining the house rules. The next day, the waifs meet with Klaus to begin training, but first, Monica tries to get information about the mission. But Klaus replies that he can't give them details yet. He then hands them a padlock and a lockpick to see their capabilities, but the girls quickly realize that doing such a thing would take at least 15 minutes. Klaus takes the padlocks again and in an almost imperceptible movement opens them all. The waifs are perplexed to see all their talent. Moreover, Klaus tells them that they will be able to do that in less than a month thanks to their training, which increases the expectation among the girls. Klaus begins his explanation about how to pick a lock and the girls freeze when they realize that their teacher is lousy at teaching, since he only tells them obvious things like how to use the lockpick properly if they want to pick a lock. Klaus realizes that he is horrible at teaching, so he leaves the place telling the waifs to train on their own for the rest of the day. Later, at tea time, the girls become suspicious of Klaus' true intentions, believing that he is just sending them to die on enemy ground. In the evening, Lily takes matters into her own hands and goes to Klaus' room to talk. Upon entering, she sees him surrounded by teaching books, so how hard Klaus tries to teach better and decides to invite him for a walk in the park the next day to relax, leaving him a list of all the places they could go. The next day, on the ride, Klaus and Lily arrive at a harbor. Lily tells Klaus that they should get on a boat to see the sunset better, but he replies that there are probably no boats available anymore. Lily sees a boat parked in front of the dock and they both go to get on. But Klaus goes ahead and gets on first, being a gentleman. As Klaus gives a philosophical talk about the war, Lily surprises him by saying that she won't let him send her and her companions to die, so she uses a stun bomb to poison him. Then, she explains to him that during the Great War, her city was attacked with poisonous gases and she was the only survivor, so they discovered that she is immune to poisons. Furthermore, she demands Klaus to disband Lamplight and place the waifs in other espionage teams, or else she will use a poison needle to finish him off, so Klaus has no choice but to congratulate her. At that moment, shackles trap Lily by the ankles and the boat slowly begins to flood. Klaus tells Lily that her plan was pretty obvious, since the lake is the most popular place in town, and she didn't include it on the list she had given him the night before. She asks him how he knew that was the boat to put the shackles on, as they could have gotten on another boat, but he just points out a sign indicating that the boat was under repair. Lily is outraged to learn that he had only pretended to be gentlemanly and courteous before getting into the boat. Lily admits defeat and decides to free Klaus, but realizes that she forgot the antidote at home. So Klaus tells her that she must row to shore in less than 5 minutes if she doesn't want to die. Upon reaching the shore, Klaus congratulates Lily, although she is saddened to learn that he let himself be affected by the poison on purpose, but he explains to her that thanks to this, he was able to test her ability, so he names her leader of Lamplight. In addition, he tells her that he has come up with a new plan to teach them, that they collaborate to defeat him. The next day, Klaus gathers the Lamplight waifs and tells them that he will not allow any of them to die in the mission. Besides revealing the new study plan and introducing Lily as a leader, Klaus returns to the mansion and, after dodging a trap set by the waifs, proceeds to reveal to them that Lamplight will not be the first team to attempt this mission, but that the first team to attempt it was Inferno. The waifs come out of hiding completely shocked and tell him that Inferno is the best spy team there is in the world, and that it was what they aspired to. Klaus tells them that the team was disbanded due to the death of all the members, and that he is the only member alive, since he was sent alone to fulfill the mission of the scene we saw at the beginning. Finally, he tells the waifs that they are free to decide if they want to go on the mission or not, as he saw how scared they were when they learned that Inferno failed in the same mission that they would carry out in a few days. Lamplight's waifs tell him that they won't leave him alone, which makes Klaus happy. As the day arrives, the Lamplight team departs for the Galgad Empire to begin the mission. The team is split in two. One group is led by Lily, while the other is led by Klaus, who is fully disguised and made up. One of the groups meets to go over the main task of the mission, which is to steal a biological weapon from a clandestine laboratory of the Empire to prevent the death of thousands of people. Meanwhile, Greta meets Klaus wearing a disguise, and the two exchange information. In addition, she asks his permission on Lily's behalf to organize a last dinner before infiltrating the lab, and although Klaus was closed-minded at first, he eventually agrees. In the evening, the Waifus gather at the restaurant to celebrate, while Klaus keeps a watchful eye from the roof. Before leaving for the mission, Klaus leaves a letter warning them that they will change the attack strategy. So, already outside the laboratory, the Waif prepare to enter and steal the sample of the virus Abyss doll. Lamplight manages to infiltrate inside the lab as they eliminate each of the guards, until Bernard, Sarah's bird, alerts of a new enemy. Meanwhile, Klaus continues to sneak into the lab, until he sees a sign that reminds him of Guido, the leader of Inferno whom he was never able to defeat in combat. The Waifus interrogate Guido, who tells them that he planted microphones in the mansion, so he knows their plan perfectly. After revealing that, the traitor begins to attack the Lamplight Waifus indiscriminately, and although they try to fight back, Guido defeats them one by one. Klaus' plan to steal the sample is interrupted when he discovers a wall that was not registered on his map, at which point, a spy and her custodians show up to tell him that Guido took it upon himself to plant false information. The woman taunts Klaus and orders his execution, but he covers himself with a cloak and a bomb explodes next to him, taking out almost all of his custodians. Klaus approaches her and delivers the final blow, as well as interrogating one of the custodians. Meanwhile, Guido took the Waifus as prisoners and reveals to them that his only intention is to assassinate Klaus, since his plan to send him to die in the mission he had given him at the beginning of the series did not work. Klaus communicates by transmitter telling her that he already has the virus sample in his hand, so he will leave the place. In addition, he reveals to him that he had discovered the microphones that were installed in the mansion, so they were dedicated to pretending that they did not know and planted false information. Before cutting off the communication, Klaus tells Guido not to underestimate the Lamplight Waifus, as they will defeat him using their enormous talent. Lily unleashes a paralyzing smoke storm and tries to attack Guido, but he manages to dodge and defeat her. When he starts to celebrate the victory, a new Loli appears and stabs him in the back. Klaus begins to speak through the communicator, saying that he never knew about Erna's presence in the mansion because the code of coexistence that he gave to the Waifus mentioned that they should behave as if they were 7. Besides, Erna joined from the second day of the team's formation and she is an expert in foreseeing catastrophes and tragedies. Then, Lily frees the Waifus, but Guido gets up and tries to stab her. Fortunately, Erna manages to save her. Klaus appears at that moment and orders the girls to leave the place, starting his battle with Guido, and making it clear that he will defeat him without problems. The next day, Klaus meets with his superior, and tells him that the Lamplight Waifus will return to their academies. In addition, he shows him a small box in which he kept one of Guido's fingers. At that moment, he begins to remember the final moments of his master as they both said goodbye amicably. Even, Guido sacrificed himself to save Klaus from a sniper's shot. While remembering his master in the comfort of his home, Klaus is interrupted by the Waifus, who tell him that they refuse to leave Lamplight, so he agrees to keep the group active. The story is now set 20 days before the mission, plus for the first time, they put the opening of the series, which is great. The Lamplight girls try to capture Klaus again and again, so they start arguing with each other. As always, Lily uses her sweetness and kindness to calm them all down and remind them not to stop being friends. Erna takes issue with this and leaves, worrying the rest of the group. Later, while strolling, a group of thugs tries to mug her, but Erna explains that due to her bad fortune, she is able to sniff out catastrophes and prevent them before they happen. At that moment, part of a building collapses and crushes the thugs, so Erna seizes the moment and escapes. The next day, Erna fakes an accidental encounter with the professor and convinces him to spend the afternoon together. She tries to lead Klaus again and again to fall into different traps and misfortunes, but he is so skillful that he manages to avoid each of the calamities. Erna persists in her attempt to lead Klaus into misfortune, but he stops pretending that he does not know Erna's capabilities and tells her that he will not play along. So he proceeds to teach the girl a valuable lesson by telling her that she is valuable, unique and irreplaceable. Back home, Klaus and Erna are cornered by a group of criminals who threaten to execute a hostage if they don't surrender. Both are taken to a dungeon, where they meet the same man who had tried to kidnap Erna earlier. He reveals that he received very valuable information about Erna, so he decided to kidnap her to collect the reward. Klaus immediately deduces that it's all a plan by the lamplight Waifus to defeat him, so the girls go in and quickly defeat everyone, thanking Erna for indirectly helping them with the plan. Unfortunately for the Waifus, Klaus breaks free of the chains and once again proves to them that everything was under his control. The next day, while tidying up the garden, Greta and Lily talk about Klaus and his coldness. Lily remembers that he has never had dinner with them, so she comes up with a plan. Lily gathers lamplight to explain her plan, which is to follow Klaus around the city to get information about him. The Waifus watch him closely and handed over all the data to Lily. Back at the house, Lily tells the Waifus that she has come to the conclusion that Klaus does not dine with them because he is intolerant to some ingredients, so the Waifus set to work to defeat Klaus by provoking his allergy through food. King Klaus is cornered by the lamplight Waifus, who wait patiently for their boss to be defeated, but he is grateful for the food and is happy to know that he will eat what he wanted so much. Because of this, the girls immediately understand that he planned everything again. Sabilla relaxes in her room after a long day of training and begins to gaze wistfully at the photo of her sisters, but suddenly she sees Lily snooping on her balcony, so she decides to invite her over to talk. Sabilla tells him that the girls in the photograph are her sisters, to whom she promised to give a successful future, revealing to Lily that this is why she became a spy. The next day, Lamplight meets to plan a new assault against Klaus, so they entrust Sabilla to steal a mysterious package that the boss will bring from another city. Later, Sabilla carries out her plan and follows Klaus around the city, looking for the ideal moment to rob him. Klaus stops in a park for lunch, so Sabilla watches him closely. Suddenly, a girl appears and fakes a stumble to steal Klaus' belongings, but Sabilla appears and stops her. Immediately, they both notice that the girl is an abused orphan forced to steal, so they both decide to accompany her home. Upon reaching an alley, Sabilla vanishes and the girl takes advantage of it to steal Klaus' purse. He gives her some painkillers and tells her that the juice the girl gave her was poisoned, so they both decide to follow her. Meanwhile, the girl gives the stolen items to her father, who is furious that they are irrelevant things and threatens to beat her up. But Sabilla and Klaus show up and enter the scene. The waifu remembers the beating her father gave her, so she takes it out on the man, easily overcoming him. When the man tries to escape, Klaus reveals that the documents they have in the bag incriminate him of several crimes, so they arrest him and say goodbye to the girl. As they leave the scene, Klaus advises Sabilla not to try to strengthen her body to be a good spy, but her heart. In the middle of the night, Sarah walks around the mansion taking advantage of the rest of the waifus rest. She meets Klaus, who uses the night hours to do some housework. He notices that she is the only one in charge of repairing and maintaining the house, so he congratulates her, but tells her that he will not let all the responsibility fall on her. The next day, Klaus organizes a competition in which the waifus will have to collaborate to finish the housework before him. The prize is a delicious steak made by Klaus, so the waifus try very hard but end up losing in each of the categories, Sarah being the only one who excelled in each test. In the evening, Klaus congratulates Sarah for her contribution to the team, telling her that she should not compare her strength with that of her teammates, but that she should understand that the team would not work without her. The story is now set days after Mission Impossible. An Imperial spy cruelly murders politicians, making them write suicide letters to cover up the murders. Klaus receives a new mission from his superior, which is to catch Cadaver, the spy we saw at the beginning of the episode. Klaus doesn't want to take the girls with him, as he wants to protect them from any threat, but his superior, and even the waifus, insist that he should bear the burden. For that reason, and after a whole afternoon of dodging traps from the girls, Klaus invites Gret on a mission. In addition, Klaus tells Gret that he realized long ago that she is in love with him, which makes the waifu blush. Finally, Klaus gathers Lamplight and tells them about the mission, making it clear that he will only take the 4 strongest members of the team. After subjecting them to some tests, the chosen ones are Lily, Sabilla, and Sarah, since Gret was included from the beginning, due to the fact that she collaborated with Klaus in the creation of the plan. The waifus Infiltrate is maids in the mansion of a politician, since the assassin is after this man's footsteps. The waifus notice almost immediately that the politician is very impolite, and stingy, as he complains about any expense he deems unnecessary. Sabilla infiltrates the politician's office to get information and discovers that he is in a terrible state of health due to a lack of vitamins, as well as seeing his enormous social labors described in a book. At that moment, the man appears and threatens her, but then forgives her and tells her that she reminds him of one of the girls he helped in an orphanage. The next day, she prepares him an exquisite meal, but the man scorns her. She tells him that the lack of vitamins impaired her sense of taste, and that's why the food always seems to be tasteless. After this, Klaus and Sabilla meet to exchange information, and he tells her that he will now have to be the politician's chauffeur, as his lack of vitamins reduces his vision at night. The girls welcome you, the politician, into the house, but the assassin appears and tries to kill him. The girls manage to save him and start chasing him, accompanied by Klaus. The end. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new anime recaps.